A Better Route Chapter 113. Anko woke up and saw that tied to some kind of rock and Zetsu and Madara were busy chatting with one another about something. So how exactly do we get this thing started? Madara told him, just give me that sample of Orochimaru's DNA and I'll get this party started. Zetsu pulled out a jar with a small hissing snake inside of it. Here you are, sir. Madara looked at it. Zetsu, this is a snake. Zetsu understood his confusion. Orochimaru was able to turn his body into snakes and he left some of his DNA in his labs in the form of snakes in case he needed them. Madara shook the jar a little bit and snakes snapped at him. Don't they need to be fed or something? Zetsu shrugged. We just found him eating mice. My biggest question was how is this little guy still alive when Orochimaru is dead? Madara realized something. Wait, how do you even know this is Orochimaru's DNA? Zetsu cringed. A little taste was all we needed. It tasted just like Orochimaru, which is why we spit it out right after we tried it. Nasty flavor that guy's always had. Madara opened the jar, grabbed the snake by the base of its neck to make sure it couldn't bite him. He walked over to Anko, who he saw was now awake. Why, hello there. As you can see, we're almost ready to start the process. Anko could tell he was trying to sound pleasant just to spite her. You're going to use me to revive that monster? Madara nodded. Yes, and I realize this upsets you quite a bit. Don't worry though. It'll be over very quickly. Anko fought back tears. Just get it over with. Madara was impressed. You're not going to try and fight it? I must admit, I thought you'd be foolish enough to try and struggle. Anko did everything she could to keep her composure. It doesn't matter how hard I fight, there's almost no one who's ever been able to beat you. I'll bite this bullet and do what I can to take you out when it's all over. One way or another, I'll make you pay. Madara kneeled down and rubbed his hand on her cheek. You're very feisty. I've always found that attractive in a woman. Anko scowled. I'm happily married. Madara sighed. Too bad, it's been a very long time since I've had a woman's company. Oh well, shall we begin? Anko hated how much he was enjoying this. Just do it already, you sick fuck. Madara put his hand on her seal. Fair enough. He began to channel some chakra into the seal and slowly brought down the tail of the Orochimaru snake down to the seal. The moment it touched, the tail began to fuse with the seal and the snake began to grow. Madara merely stepped back as the snake kept expanding. Before long it was almost as big as a human and was hissing even louder. The snake's mouth opened and a sickly white hand reached out of it. It detached from Anko's body and before long the cruel snake master crawled out and began to chuckle. It's so good to be back. I wonder who it was that revived me. Kabuto perhaps. Madara made himself known. No, I was the one who brought you here. Orochimaru turned to the voice. Well, thank you very. Madara could tell the snake knew who he was since he stopped talking the moment he saw him. I'm going to be starting a war soon and I'd greatly like your assistances. And when I say would like you assistance, I mean you're going to be helping me get some old friends back together for a fight. Orochimaru scowled. I'd sooner return to the depths of hell than work for you. I may be crazy but I'm not stupid. Madara rolled his eyes. That's open to debate. However, I'm afraid that if you don't agree to work with me, I'll make your life so horrible you'll have no choice but to do it. Orochimaru stared him in the eye. Do your worst. Madara gave an evil smile. If you insist. Orochimaru regretted looking into his eyes. His Mangekyo Sharingan had him on the floor blubbering in mere seconds. Zetsu asked his master, the Tsukimi? Madara was happy to say, why yes it is. In just 3 hours he'll be begging to work with us. Anko knew what the Tsukimi was and said, okay, that much I thank you for. Madara walked over to her. You're absolutely welcome. Now, you will be so kind as to tell people about my return, won't you? Anko frowned. Oh yeah, I'll tell them all about you. Madara kneeled down beside her again. Good to hear. Now, why don't you take another nap? I'll be sure you get back to your husband. Anko once again wasn't given a chance to argue as she passed out the moment Madara looked her in the eye. He picked her up and turned to Zetsu. Shall we go and get her home, Zetsu? Zetsu tilted his head. Sir, why don't you just let me do it? Madara shook his head. I'm a man of my word, Zetsu. It's not as though anyone there could take me if they saw us anyways. If you wish you may stay here with Orochimaru. Zetsu wasn't sure what to make of all of this. Alright, guess I'll go with you. Just be careful, sir. Madara started to leave. I always am, Zetsu. For the second time in the same day, Anko woke up to the sound of voice speaking about something serious. Only this time it was her husband talking with Tsunade. So she's okay? Nothing majorly wrong, no bad injuries? Tsunade put a hand on his shoulder. Irika, she's fine. Her body was fatigued, but that was it. That when Anko realized she was in a hospital bed. Really, you took me to the damn hospital? That's bit excessive, don't you think? Irika ran over the moment he heard her speak. Oh, thank God you're okay. The guards at the gate said something about being put under a genjutsu and then finding you passed out when it was lifted. Anko-chan, what the hell happened? Anko gave a small gulp. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Irika-kun, I need to talk to Obito like right now. Irika was surprised to hear that. Okay, but he's kind of busy with the Hyugas right now. Something about them making sure Zetsu isn't trying to sneak into the village. Apparently the Kyuubi sensed something that felt like Madara Uchiha's chakra. Anko sat up in her bed. Yeah, that's exactly what I need to tell him. Gather up everybody, and I mean everybody in the council room. Clan heads, Umbu, elite jonin, whatever important people you can think of. Irika was getting really nervous. Anko-chan, is this really that serious? Anko mumbled to herself, you have no idea. The council room was packed full. Most people didn't even have enough room to move their arms. They were all talking and Obito could barely even hear himself think. He screamed at the top of his lungs, everybody quiet down. We're not going to get anywhere if all of you don't shut up already. Finally the room quieted down and Obito gave Anko the floor. Alright Anko, please tell us what's wrong. Is this about you going missing today? Anko decided to start this out as simply as she could. I've got bad news and I've got worse news. Obito hated bad news. Come on, what now? Anko ground her teeth as she said, the Akatsuki used my seal to bring Orochimaru back. The room erupted in anger with shouts of, are you kidding, and this is freaking awful. Obito yelled out, silence. Anko, what in the hell is the worst news? Anko's next words were barely a whispered, he was brought back by a revived, Madara Uchiha. Obito's blood ran cold and everyone in the room started to scream, it's not possible, he's dead, and this isn't funny Anko. Obito needed to talk, so this time added a threat, the next person who opens their mouth without permission will be fed to one of my son's snakes. Everyone shut right up after hearing that as Obito said, to be honest, I think that Anko is telling the truth. Based on the Kyuubi's reaction today and some new information that has come to light, it seems very plausible that Madara could have been revived. Someone was about to talk but Obito said, I wasn't finished. Apparently the Rinnegan has the ability to revive the dead. As you all know, my mother had the Rinnegan. Considering how close she was to death, I could believe that they used the last of her strength to return the Psycho to his former glory. Now I know that all of you are afraid right now, but we need to remain calm. Panicking is the worst thing we could do right now. We need to talk this out rationally if we're going to get anywhere. If you have something to say, raise your hand and I'll pick who may speak. Who would like to go first? Everyone raised their hand, but Obito picked Tsunade to speak first. "Tsunade, what is it?" Tsunade started, "I know Madara is a legend, but you all have to remember, he can be beaten. My grandfather is proof of that. He's not invincible, so if we play our card right, even he can be taken down." Enko raised her hand and Obito asked, "Yes, Enko?" Enko responded, "He said he was getting Orochimaru back so that he could get some old friends together." It sounded like he wanted to use Orochimaru to use his reanimation jutsu against us. Obito didn't like that sound of that. "Well, that's no good at all, is it?" Shikaku had his hand raised and Obito motioned for him to speak. "Lord Hokage, we've got to strike while the iron's hot. We can't give Madara the chance to get the tailed beasts, so we need to get a plan going. I say that we get in contact with the other Kages and move the 5 Kage summit up to as soon as we can possibly have it. The more people involved in this, the better." Obito agreed that was the best move. "Sounds good, Shikaku. Get every messenger we've got on it. Promise them whatever you have to, just get that 5 Kage summit started ASAP." Shikaku nodded and ran right off to get the wheels in motion. Obito told the rest of the ninjas, "You all get your ass training. We're in for one hell of fight and we need everyone as strong as we can get them." All of them left and Rin ran up to Obito. "Obito-kun, what are we going to do? We've faced some strong people but never someone like Madara Uchiha." Obito gave his wife a gentle smile. "Don't worry, darling. We've come too far now to just give up. I don't care if he was the sage of the 6 paths, for crying out loud, he's going down." Rin was so glad to have him right now. Not just as her husband, but as the leader of the village. She might not be sure what was going to happen next, but she knew no matter what Obito would be there to protect everyone with his life. See you in the next one.